Hey there guys, my name's John. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to Quick Tips. I'm not a chef. I've never been to culinary school. I'm just a guy that likes to eat and a guy that likes to cook. And all the time people are asking me questions about what I do in the kitchen and how I do things. Last week even, a friend of mine asked me about chicken and dumplings. Said she could not figure out how to make good chicken and dumplings to save her life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to look at my quick tips and those one or two little things about chicken and dumplings that can really make or break your chicken and dumplings. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to prep our vegetables. And I keep seeing all of these videos on YouTube where people just snap their fingers and through the magic of editing, everything gets done. So let's play with that power a little bit, shall we? That's not supposed to happen. I don't know where my veg went. Let's try that again. I can't believe that worked, guys. All right, now that we've got our veg cut up and put together, we need to get it started, and then we need to deal with our chicken. So, we're gonna go over to the stove and get this veg started. Okay, so we got our pot on the stove with a little bit of butter melting in the bottom. Once that butter melts, we are going to add in our vegetables and start cooking those down with a little salt, maybe a little pepper. Start sweating some of the moisture out of those vegetables, and then we'll be adding our chicken. All right, now I'm just gonna add in all of this vegetable into my butter. Give it a nice little toss. Okay, now I just need to add a little salt, a little pepper. We got a little bit of salt. Maybe a little bit more. And a little bit of pepper. Okay, maybe more than a little bit of pepper. Okay, we'll get in here, give it a nice toss around, and we're just gonna let this veg cook down a little bit until we're ready to add the chicken. Okay, now we've got our chicken. I've pulled it out of the package, I have pat it dry, and it is ready to be seasoned before it goes into the pot. So we're gonna season it with a lot of salt and some other spices. We're just gonna start off by just sprinkling salt all over this bird. And I'm gonna use one hand with my spices and one hand to manhandle the chicken. Okay, now, one of the big important things that people forget to do while they are seasoning chicken, especially for something like this, is they don't season the cavity. I know, super gross, guys, but you got to get in there with a bunch of salt. Yeah. Get it in there and then rub it all in. Okay, now I'm going to throw on some sage, some thyme, some poultry seasoning, and I'm using dry herbs today, guys, because this is going to basically simmer for a really long time, and I like fresh herbs, but dry herbs are going to be just fine for this. So we're going to start with sprinkling some rubbed sage on top. We're going to do a little bit of poultry seasoning on top. But John, why is all this stuff not, all over it? Well, it'll get there. Don't worry, it'll get there. I'm just trying to use it all without having to redo everything multiple times. So, got all this. Now we're just going to take all that seasoning, we're going to rub it all over the bird. You rub it all over this bird. Now, flip it over, I got it all over my hand, and using this kind of wet hand, dry hand, chicken hand, not chicken hand, and already opened bottles, I can, if I need to add a little bit more, it's not a problem. I can add just a little bit. Or a lot more, you know, whatever. But that's okay, that's not a big deal, guys, because you saw me salt the inside of the bird, but I haven't added any herbs yet to the inside of the bird. So I'm gonna take probably a handful, and now I'm done using my herbs, and I'm gonna spread that kind of all over, and yeah, it's gonna go everywhere, and that's okay. You gotta clean your kitchen when you're done anyway, right guys? All right, now we've got a well-seasoned bird, and he's gonna sit and chill for a few minutes and everything, and I'm gonna go wash my hands before I do anything else. Okay, so our vegetables are kind of coming along. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting really, really close. So, what I'm going to do is kind of start pushing all of the vegetables off to the side and making a hole where we can have access to the bottom of the pot. So now our pot is really, really warm. We got some very nice smelling vegetables. Some very nice smelling vegetables, if I do say so myself. And now we're gonna add the chicken to the pot now. A lot of people will go ahead and add the liquid in and then put the chicken in, but just like with the slow cooker, if you can sear your meat before you add the liquid, then it's gonna add more flavor. You're gonna have a deeper, richer flavor to your final product. So, I'm going to start this with the breast side down, so that way when I flip it over to sear the other side, it's breast side up in the liquid. We're just gonna let that sear for a few minutes. All right, guys, you can see that I have flipped my chicken, and I've had it going for another 3 or 4 minutes on that side. Now it's time to add the liquid. And I start off with 1 quart of chicken stock. I'll just pour that in, let it do its thing. I don't know how much liquid I'm really going to need yet. So we've got our chicken stock in there, and what I want to do is bring my liquid level up just above the chicken, so the chicken is completely submerged. So I've got some nice fresh water that I'm going to add, and don't worry, you're not going to really water down the flavor very much, because there's going to be a lot of chicken goodness that comes out of the chicken that's in there. So just covering. There's probably about another quart, almost 3/4 of a quart more of liquid. Now we're just going to bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to back it off and let it simmer for anywhere between 45 minutes to 4 hours. It's kind of up to you on how long you want it to simmer. So we will bring this up to a boil and then check on it. All right, guys, so you can see I've gotten it up to a nice boil, and we're going to turn the heat down so that it can just go to a simmer, and we're going to let it simmer for somewhere between 45 minutes and, with a chicken this size, maybe an hour and a half, just until it's as done as I want it. I'm going to slap the lid on just a little askew and let it simmer. All right, so our chicken has been in the pot for a little more than an hour and a half. Got a little distracted and things went a little longer than I meant to. That happens, and that's fine. With this, that's fine. Been about an hour and a half. I've done it as long as 3 hours before, and it's turned out wonderfully. The next big step is to get the chicken out and into this bowl so it can cool down and we can pull the meat off the bone. So let's do that. All right, my chicken is cooled off. I've just gotten through pulling it, and since I'm only making chicken and dumplings for 2 people, I don't need this whole pot. So really what I'm doing here is I'm making chicken and dumplings and some chicken soup base that we can make another batch of chicken and dumplings later, or maybe a chicken noodle soup or something like that. So I'm just going to make a small pot of chicken and dumplings. So I'm going to take some of that liquid, put it in a smaller pot, add some chicken to it, and then I will get to my secret dumpling recipe for you guys. Okay, so I am coming to you guys from the editing booth for the video because I had a slight audio issue. And by slight, I mean the microphone just didn't work during this particular clip. So voiceover time, I guess. I made a joke that I was going to cause all of the good Southern grandmas to roll over in their graves when I revealed my secret dumpling recipe. And that's because that recipe is canned biscuits. I use cheap canned biscuits, like store brand biscuits. And I usually get about 8 to 12 dumplings per biscuit in the can by pinching off and dropping into the boiling soup. And I'll let those cook for about 10 to 15 minutes, just until they're no longer super doughy on the inside and they can get nice and tender and delicious. So that's my secret dumpling recipe, is canned biscuits, guys. All right, so got my bowl of chicken and dumplings, and it's a moment of truth, guys. Let's give it a taste. Get a little chicken, a little dumpling on the spoon, and it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be some hot chicken and dumplings. Definitely hot, but definitely delicious. I'm gonna go find a quiet place and devour this bowl and possibly the entirety of that pot. I really hope that you guys give this a try soon. And if you have anything that you'd like a quick tip on, or some recipe that you can't quite get right, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will do my best to maybe get to that recipe if I can. Thanks a lot, guys, and I will see you next time.